Hello, welcome back.
It's chilly.
Hello, welcome back. First video of 2026, but I want to talk about one of my favorite films of the year. Came out on Christmas Day because it's a film that really does a lot, says a lot, takes big swings, takes big risks, yet feels very small compared to the big, ambitious story it's meant to tell. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend going to watch it. It's a really great film. It does things really, really well, and I'm going to talk about that moving forward. But for now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Aaron Murray Vasquez. I'm a filmmaker here in New York City and the Hudson Valley. Feel free to like and subscribe. Let's get going. Before we get going, I did put out a director's reel. If you guys want to check that out, I linked it in the bottom. It is beautiful. It's like a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. Go and watch it. It's awesome. I rewatch it all the time just because the song is awesome. And then I did my thing on the edit. So go and watch it. Okay, now let's talk Marty Supreme. I want to talk about what we're going to be talking about, which is story, acting, music, and direction. Let's get started with story. Story. Okay, so as you know, Marty Supreme is an American film by Josh Safdie. He's one half of the Safdie brothers. Benny and Safdie have done Good Time. They have done Uncut Gems. Benny has recently started to branch out and is in a lot more films, whereas Josh has become more of the director of the two. And I think it shows when you watch A Smashing Machine versus when you watch Marty Supreme of the level of focus that Josh puts into this project and into all of these projects, where I think Benny is much more interested in the character. Josh is very interested in the chaos. So it's about a young man, Marty Mauser, that is trying to become the best table tennis player in the world, set in New York in the 1950s. Just a story after my heart on the baseline of it. Timothee Chalamet, Gwetheth Paltrow. It's about a young man whose wild determination to be the best tennis player in the world, even if he has to bury it to get a second chance. But there are no second chances in Marty Supreme. Everything has consequences and everything sticks. It's a movie about the way you treat people on the way up and the way they see you on the way down. And like all Safdie brothers movies, there is no rest, no discernible story flow, just a side quest movie made entirely out of side quests. And that's not a knock. I'm actually inspired by the lengths that went down every dead end to get Marty back to the championships. But the story basically is Marty loses the finals and we watch him burn the world to get back for a rematch. And Josh Safdie does a great job using every side quest to expose one of Marty's fatal flaws: entitlement, cockiness, narcissism, stupidity, honor, or I should say lack of honor, greed, ego. And I'm going to keep saying this, but like all Safdie brothers movies, Marty is an unlikable, charismatic protagonist, antagonist that we cannot keep our eyes off of. He's like a train wreck that is fun to watch and warms you from time to time, but also is shockingly violent. His comeuppance doesn't come from his failures, but his success. Rockwell tells him, "This win won't bring you happiness," in a final plea to let this obsession go. But he wins, and you watch an entire nation's heart break. And for Marty, no fame, no money, no glory or second chance at the tournament. Marty has to flee the country with the American military that were rooting it on. By the way, this is the second film I've seen in this year where America and the American military and the American empire is firmly cast as evil. Well, I should say coded that way here. Definitely very much that way in One Battle After Another. But again, this is a Safdie film, so we are going to look at compromised people, and they like to expose very compromised people who are all the way crazy in this one very specific way, but also enough like us for us to find their wavelength as things descend into madness from time to time. In a very holy shit, what am I meant to do? Okay, all right. Maybe what he's doing is making sense. You kind of feel like that from time to time, but not all the time. Acting. Timothee Chalamet is so good in this. He's not meant to be likable. Just want to say that out. He feels like both Leo in Titanic and Brad Pitt in Thelma and Louise Robbery. He's the driving force of the movie, and you believe his hype. You believe he believes his hype, and you're watching him sell it to everybody. I love Gwyneth Paltrow. She plays this starlet who is returning to the stage for the first time, and that's very much mirroring what's happening with Gwyneth at the time. She hasn't been in a film in a long time. She talks about it on the Good Hang podcast, which was very, very interesting. I recommend you listen to it. And just, that's an awesome podcast. If you're a dude, you should listen to that podcast because it is a very good, relaxing kind of listen instead of very aggressive, FanDuel inspired content. And she was also some of the funniest moments in the movie. She played a lot of funny roles. She was able to sort of like have the caricature of this person feel so real and cut against the seriousness of what Marty is going through because her character is kind of irrelevant but has stature and status, but not the way she wants. Feels very much also a mirror of what Marty is chasing. Odessa was a pretty good role player. I thought that when they needed her to do something, she was able to do it very well. When they needed her to pivot, she was able to do it very well. But she was a very malleable character, which I found interesting, and I thought her playing that role was very good. Kevin O'Leary was great at looking like a rich dickhead because that's what he is. So he fit really well in his role. But the side characters was where this film thrives. You meet so many flashes of brilliance. And this is where I think the Safdie films are so good. Their side characters feel so rich underneath. Their faces, their hands, their movements, their dialect, their language, everything feels so established. And some of them feel like real people because some of them are real people with a real perspective. I love when directors do this, when they really cast people that are just part of the culture and they just bring them into the movie and just say, keep it going. Dion, the orange ping pong guy, his dad, Marty's whole family, the cops, the New Jersey Village people, the old ping pong table dudes, the guy who owned the dog, Moses, Lloyd, who he robs. They're all great. The one who kind of doesn't really fit for me is Tyler. Tyler felt like he was just kind of playing Tyler, but in 1950s, 1960s clothes. Like some of his language was like what Tyler would say now, which kind of threw me off a little bit. I know that the Safdie brothers like to work with artists a lot. I know I do because they are able to sort of shapeshift and they're able to go for it. But I felt like it's hard to not see Tyler in that role still. Overall, the acting was really, really good. It was intense when it needed to be. It was funny when it needed to be. It was inspirational when it needed to be. And a lot of that also had to do with the music. The music is a standout. It is not the period that it's set in that is a good thing. It helps deliver this film to an existential sense of meaning. The seriousness that the costumes and the set department took is tightened even more by the score. I'm saying this word a lot now, tightened. I think much of the music of the Safdie films adds so much to the subconscious of the stories. There's operatic moments mixed with synths, pulsing beats, eerie tones that tighten the surrealness of a lot of these moments. And I think that that's something that was really impactful, is that this movie wasn't trying to lean on the period of the time. Like, say, for example, a movie like Little Women. The music you heard in Little Women was all part of that period. And it was important that it was part of that period because it needed to be honest. I needed to be grounded in that story. I'm talking about the Greta Gerwig one. Because the Safdie brothers tell small stories that are big, the music that they use can feel very galactic. It can feel very galactic. And in this, the first 30 minutes, it is really impressing on you how much this means to Marty through the score and through the etherealness of the score. Even if you haven't watched the movie, I would recommend listening to the score or the soundtrack on any of the streaming services or YouTube. And for the last part, I want to talk about direction. This is where we land on the film's visionary, Josh Safdie, a ball of mismatched parts held together by style, character, dialogue, chaos, and brilliance. And this movie is brilliant in everything except for the CGI on the ping pong balls. Some of it got a little rough, but, I'm not going to hold him to that. Safdie's ability to get us going along with Marty's increasingly pathetic and desperate attempts to get back into the World Championships while still hoping that he pulls it off is a Safdie brothers film in its sweet spot. When they hit that zone of rooting for the villain to get away with it, and this is a villain, Rooting for them to get away with it is like when you're cutting something with paper, with scissors, and then it catches and it's just... That's how it feels when Josh Safdie hits that zone in this movie. The tension builds and builds from the pace, the music, the failures, the double downs. And through it all, it has a very dark sense of humor about the view of the world from the top. At some point, Josh Safdie is going to have to tell a story that doesn't go from kitchen fire to flooded basement to collapsed roof. But until he does, he's the current title belt holder of both the side quest film and the oops, we were watching the villain the whole time belt. Because Connie is always going to be running from the cops forever. Howard would eventually have lost his money chasing the same high. And Marty would be spinning his legend till the very end with nobody around him to even listen or care. We don't get the rematch he wants, but he gets the victory he had been chasing for so long. And guess what? It breaks the entire nation's heart. We watch them lose, and there's long shots of that sadness, and he leaves without reward. He doesn't even play in the championships. He just beats this guy, and he flees with the American military, becomes a father, and he abandons it because this is all worthless in the face of the future of what is coming, which is fatherhood. Everybody in the whole movie is telling him that he's a boy, he's a child, and he is stomping his feet telling everybody that he is going to be the best, and he is fully grown. But as he goes into more pathetic and desperate attempts, we see that then it clicks when he has that child. And I think that that's a very interesting ending because it feels more hopeful. It feels more hopeful than a Safdie Brothers film. There is still the elements of people getting really, really hurt by our main character in ways that stay with you and ways that you empathize with, because I have helped my friends like this and they have burned me, not to this extent, but I have been burned by friends, and it is hard to come back from. You know, you both can empathize with Marty's plight and with the friends that want to help, but it does end on a more hopeful tone that we can be better. There are some dreams that require patience, some dreams that require finesse, and some dreams that require other people's help. And so that's my review of Josh Safdie, Timothee Chalamet, Gwetheth Paltrow's Marty Supreme. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I think that it is one of the great films of the year, and I'm really happy they're making films like this, and I really hope that they make more films like this, because we really need studios and distributors and investors to make films like this with filmmakers that have a point of view and have ambition and want to tell stories that aren't IP but resonate with people. So that's my take. Go watch the director's reel, and if there's any financiers out there, hit me up. Aaron@bluecamelot.com. Let's make a movie.
Can you imagine when this race is won? Turn our golden faces into the sun, raising our